everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of What's in the Bag. I'm Emma.
I'm Mike, and this is my tournament bag.
Fab. So today in the tournament bag we are talking about rules. So what do you take in your tournament bag to cover rules that you questions or queries or thoughts that may come up?
Well, this is an interesting one because one of the first things a lot of players, myself included, will have is this. Mm-hmm. With a Warhammer 40,000 themed background. So mobile phone is a lot of the time a person's first port of call for rules.
Phone, iPad, tablet.
Something to that effect, some sort of digital device.
Yeah.
Now, as organisers and as a player, I often recommend players don't rely just solely on one of these because they can go flat throughout the day. If you need Wi-Fi access to access it, for example, if you've got anything stored in a OneDrive or Dropbox, you have issues. So my bag actually...
If you are going to take your phone, definitely make sure you take a charger.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Or one of those little battery packs you can charge on the fly.
Or both.
Yep. But because I'm a little bit old school, I bring rules.
We can take the school off that.
So, now there's actually 3 books and a box of cards in here. So we'll start with the core rules. Mm-hmm. I really, for some of the criticism I've laid at Games Workshop's feet over Chapter Proof 2020, this book is fantastic as a player and as a tournament organiser. All the core rules are in here, the terrain rules are in here, all the missions are in here. I think there's about 2 actual pages of stuff that are in the main rule book that aren't in here that I feel like they probably should have been in here. Mm-hmm. But by and large, this book is, if you're going to tournaments, I would thoroughly recommend buying one of these. It's, as you can see, this was the last mission I played yesterday. It's already strapped up so that you can find it easily. Mm-hmm. And, finding any of the answers to any of the base questions, it's all here. So if you insist on running your army lists and your codexes and stuff from a digital device, I would still bring this because it makes it so much easier to refer to at the table. What mission are we playing? Oh, it's page 50 of the book. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Here's
the deployment type. Here's all the special rules for it. All my secondaries are in here as well.
Oh, it was page 50 as well.
I know, I remember. So this is something that I feel like every tournament player should have.
Now, is this available digitally?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
And I think the problem with the digital thing is it's so much easier to flip back and forth with this when looking for things.
Well, we say that because I think that's to do with our age and that we've got a lot more experience actually handling a book and handling paper and being able to flick. But, perhaps if you're more experienced. For me, trying to read that on a phone screen, I'm going to struggle. So... I would definitely prefer
another thing I'll mention very quick
rather than electronic. Yep.
The fact this is ring bound is so good because it sits flat, and so
does a phone.
It does, but the phone also can't show me all of that information at once.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
so.
Right.
The fact this is ring bound this has clearly been thought out by someone who has played at tournaments, and I really like it. So, if you're coming to a 40k event, I would almost always suggest you have these.
If you come into a 40k event. That is based on match play.
Yes.
Definitely. I can't think of a time where we would run a match play event where we wouldn't have that as a recommendation.
Absolutely not. Now, the second and third books are my requisite rules.
Yep.
So, Harlequin Codex and the White Dwarf that featured the expansion for Psychic Awakening for Harlequins.
Now, if you're not playing Harlequins, it's probably not in your best interest to bring a Harlequin book with you.
Head to these books, or even these ones down here, and grab the relevant books and codexes. This is what I need to run my army, or what I did for the weekend just gone. So, again, I find a lot of the time, if you've got a specific stratagem in mind, or a specific data sheet, or a specific weapon, it's going to be easier to find it picking up one of these than it is to get it out of a digital device. Again, that could just be an age thing, but I do find that when someone says to me, oh, what does that stratagem do? I know roughly where it sits in the book because I know it's in the back a couple of pages.
Yeah.
And I can go, okay, I'm already at the stratagems. Oh, it's called Prismatic Blur. This is what it does.
Yeah.
So I do feel like having these on hand for the stratagem component of it can be quite useful. And also for some of the data sheets and things, I don't like to trust a lot of the army building programs these days. I feel like there's too many opportunities for either data management to be incorrect or for data manipulation. This is pretty clear. A lot of the time I'll also have a copy of the FAQ sort of just printed out and slid into those books where necessary. The last part, which kind of ties into the stratagems, is this, which is my data cards. Now, these are by no means a requirement. You can get everything you need out of that. However, these have still got the old tactical objectives in them, which are obviously no use to us anymore. They just make sure they don't rattle around in
Yeah,
the
I was
box.
going to say, yeah.
But what this does do is it gives me an opportunity to put down cards that when I've cast Psychic Powers, who's cast it, where it's cast from.
Yeah.
It also gives me a lot of the stratagems, so that if I've got stuff that I can't play, I can actually take them out of the deck.
Yeah.
So that you can kind of visualize and limit your options at the table. The only downside to these, of course, is because they were printed for 8th edition, they don't include the Psychic Awakening cards, which is why the White Dwarf's there.
Hopefully we'll see those.
Hopefully. I don't think these
Be able to get rid of the cards that you don't need and slot in the ones that you do.
I don't think these are in any way, shape or form a requirement for a tournament. I find I like them because it reminds me of key things that, because the book doesn't stay open and flat very well, I do find that having the cards where I go, oh, I'm playing against this army, these stratagems are really going to be key for me. Having them on the table as a visual reminder means I don't forget what's going on or forget a trigger where I think, oh, I could have done that, or I wish I'd done that later in the day. Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that helps you speed up your play and also helps you have less regret at the end of an event.
Yeah.
And as in, that, I should have known, or I forgot about such and such. And, well, if you've got it laid out in front of you, it's just that, as you say, visual reminder, and you're less likely to forget about it. So anything that can help speed up a game is helpful.
Yeah, it's always a good thing.
And anything that can help jog your memory and help you remember things, also really good as well. So, yeah. Is that it? Anything else with scoring?
No, and not with rules either.
Oh, God.
So, my main suggestion is I don't bother bringing the other half of the chapter approved book to tournaments. That's got all the points in it. There's not a lot of reason for it these days, because your army list should have been submitted by then.
What about, though, if at a tournament somebody questions your army list?
So, most of the time, as organisers, we suggest when you submit an army list that you actually include the breakup point by point, so that you're not just listing a squad of 10 Harlequins at 170 points with these weapons. You actually break it down and go, this is the cost of the Harlequins, this is the cost of the weapons, this is the cost of everything. That makes it far easier to work out if and where the issue lies. As organisers, I do bring the points values with me, because that way if someone does question it, I have a copy there.
Yeah.
I believe you can get the digital version as well, and if you have the Warhammer 40,000 app, it's in there as well. But as a player and as a TO, it's very rare that in the years I've been doing it, that anyone's actually questioned the specific points on a unit. A lot of the time that's then taken to a TO rather than the opposing player. So I don't feel like the points book has a lot of value as a player at the table.
Definitely something to have for building.
Absolutely. The other component that you have to think about as it kind of ties into scoring from the last episode as well, is the sort of the digital component of...
See, I knew there was something about scoring.
The digital component of FAQs. If your device has no internet access, or maybe you don't have data this month because you've used it all, make sure you've got a copy of any FAQs that you're going to need to refer to for your books, specifically, as a hard copy. Or have it saved on your phone. If you don't have data, download it while you're at home and have it ready so that you've got it in case you need it. As a player, I would hope that my opponent has, if I have a rules query, I would hope they have every rule available to me so that they can just hand it to me and go, here.
Yeah.
So that I can see it for myself. It sounds a bit snotty, but I won't refuse like really badly, but if someone hands me an army builder file and a printout and says, here's the rule, I'll politely ask, can I see the book? Because a lot of the abridged versions that hit those army building softwares are changing keywords to minimize text space, and that can lead to changes in the way the rules are written.
And I believe Army Builder is done through community submission, isn't it?
It is.
So it's a bit like the Wikipedia of gaming.
So it is great for on-the-fly army building. They're great for that sort of mucking about and whatnot. When I write army lists, though, they're done the old-fashioned way and they're worked out so that I can make sure that if there is an error and someone pulls me up on it in a tournament, it's my error. It's not... I can't try and palm the blame off to the software, and I can't go away going, well, if the software had it right, I would be fine.
Yeah.
It's at least my fault. So you can take onus for it that way. Checking them against each other can often be a really viable thing. Write it out and do it in Army Builder, and if they match, then you're probably on a winning point at that stage.
Yeah.
The other reason that I like to do it that way is a lot of tournaments these days use a software suite like Down Under Pairings or Best Coast Pairings, and you can upload your army list to those. If they're written out step by step and broken up easily, it means other people can read them easily. again, it creates a transparent environment so that your opponent doesn't feel like you're trying to hide something within the army list.
I think also it means that, so that transparency means that people can actually check it, which means that we're not likely to get to a point after an event where you find out that somebody's been playing with an illegal list or even midway through an event, someone's been playing with an illegal list for however many games, and then that really horrible situation of trying to work out what to do with that. So if you've got everything laid out step by step, for our events at least, they're made public about a week before.
Depending on the event.
Yeah. Depending on the event, we try and get them out to the public prior to the event, which gives people a chance to actually spot those errors.
Yeah.
And same with, when you go to a table, your opponent can actually look at your army list, and there's that opportunity there for errors to be spotted so that we're minimising a risk of anybody needing to be penalised for playing with an illegal army.
It also means that you don't necessarily need a hard copy of your list in your bag.
Yeah, definitely.
I did have one for the weekend, but because I've since emptied the tournament bag since the weekend, that army list is no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
But over the weekend, I had 2 of my 3 opponents give me an army list in paper so that I can have a look over it.
Yeah.
The fact that it was in the software meant that wasn't necessarily required. But I think having that hard copy can also help disarm any tension that might be happening at the start of the game where your opponent doesn't know your army's type. Like, then maybe they're not familiar with Harlequins, and I did have one opponent say to me, I don't know what they are, I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
So even handing him an army list didn't help him until I went through and went, okay, this weapon does this weapon does that, and through the game, by the end of the game, he was fine with it. So there's a disarming process there of trying to make sure that they understand that you're being truthful and transparent, and that leads to a better sort of relationship throughout the game.
I think it's worthwhile just knowing as well whether or not the event that you're going to is going to be using an electronic scoring suite, and if it is, whether or not army lists are going to be uploadable into that. Because if they're not, then I definitely think you need to take... So we used to say, prior to using... we use Best Coast pairing and we've moved to Down Under pairing. So prior to using those, we used to tell people to make sure to bring... So if you've got 3 games for a day, bring 4 copies of your army list.
Yep.
If you've got 6 games over the weekend, bring 7 copies of your army list. So just one extra one so that you can give one to each of your opponents and they've got it there.
And there was a time... while I was playing tournaments in sort of the mid to late 2000s, where it was quite common to hand that over and your opponent to keep that army list. And obviously in the world of digital technology, a decade later, it's less of a thing. But there was, I've found stacks of army lists from tournaments I've won in years gone by of the people I played. And obviously now you can look them up online pretty simply. But I definitely think if I were going to fly internationally and play at another tournament like LVO, I would be bringing hard copies with me, because you don't want to hit an event and realise your phone doesn't work or your carrier's not working in that country. If you've got hard copies of everything, if your phone doesn't work, then you can still complete the event properly.
Yeah.
So that's everything that's in my tournament bag when it comes to rules.
Perfect.
You can obviously find all of the rules references from the relevant manufacturer, whether it's Games Workshop or Games or whatever game you're happening to play. Otherwise, if you're interested in checking out Down Under pairings, Best Coast pairings or anything like that, you can go to their relevant websites. But otherwise, we'll see you for the next episode.